Welcome everybody to the Dance is Medicine podcast. My name is Celine Sophia. I'm a dancer, neuroscientist, and dance healer, and I've created this podcast in order to share stories from other dancers and how they use dance to heal and cope with their health problems, but also to encourage non-dancers to start using dance as a daily activity and inspire people who may go through the same health problems to use dance as their healing power. I'll give some neuroscientific perspectives on some of the health problems the dancers will be talking about. But this is mainly about each person and each story, because science is great, but stories are the real thing. Okay, so with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Yuri. She told me she had heart problems, arthritis, and medical depression when she was younger. She has been dancing since the age of 5, and she's trained in various styles. And I'm excited to hear how she has used dance to cope with her health problems. So I'm going to let her talk now, because who's best to talk about her own story than herself? Yuri, would you like to tell us a little bit more about your background, where are you from, and how you use dance to cope with those serious health problems that you had?
Hi, Celine. How are you? This is super exciting. Okay, my name is Yuri McDonald. It's not my real name, but actually have helped me a lot. Like, it's funny to say how in many ways dance or even a name can help you. But I'm from Argentina.
Awesome.
I was born in Argentina, and I have been here in Ireland, living here for the last 10 years. So it's been a little bit of a change in every single way. But starting from very, very young, the problems that I had to go through myself as I was very young is depression, mostly. Even though what the doctors will not look at it that way at the time, because I was continually active. I was active, but mentally I was a little bit shut down. It's like I will be super quiet. I wouldn't actually engage to talk with everybody, but I will dance. And that was my way to speak when I was very anxious or when I was super sad. Because I was extremely quiet. I was like a room of 10 people, and I will still be in a corner. Like I look from the far, and I was happy in that way. But internally, I was pretty upset. Mostly my whole 10-15 years in the academy were mostly like that. And even though I wouldn't speak what it was happening within myself, I will dance it off, basically. I used to train so much, like I was having between 5 to 6 days of training with a lot of hours in between, every single Sundays, every single Saturdays, and I was super active, very, very active. But it was a time that I kind of stopped dancing for a while. I stopped dancing for nearly 5 years. And it was the worst mistake that I could ever possibly done at the time. I thought that by working, I will keep the balance of my body, dancing, like kind of weird to explain it, but I thought that maybe by being active, by working in regular shops, my body will cope with the same amount of work that I used to be doing when I used to dance all the time. And it didn't. And it was basically one day I was working and I had a pressure in my chest that it was so painful. It was so hard. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. I couldn't call anyone. I was so scared, and I just started to cry because I couldn't actually breathe, and I couldn't understand what was going on or why happened that, or I just couldn't, until eventually somebody spotted me on the floor and it took me to the hospital. And I was very close to come to Ireland, so I couldn't do the whole process in Argentina as I'm used to it with the medicine over there that is a little bit more supportive. But what they managed to figure it out in a very short time over there is it was like kind of like a beginning of a heart attack.
Mm.
And I was 25, 24, like 10 years ago, like or around that time. And I didn't stop dancing for a good bit at that stage. Like it was very short time, but my body retaliated pretty much right away. And then I came here to Ireland, and I couldn't actually find an explanation for it, and the doctors would give me every single medicine on the market that I could actually get. Like, and I'm more like trying to take more the natural approach and just go more to the medicine if I really need it, or trying to keep them both. Like I don't say no to all of them. I just said I will try and see what works best.
Yeah.
But in my case, what they were giving to me wasn't working, and I was getting more pains and way more often, and it was always on my chest, on my heart side, and it's like it's just so painful. Like it's just looking back to it is like I'm glad it hasn't happened in a while. But a few years ago I came back to Argentina, and before I came back to Argentina I had it again. I was still not dancing, and I came back there, and I made every single test that I can possibly do. I run it there for a week, and what they ended up saying to me was like, you have been training as a professional dancer for so long, for your whole life. You started at 5 years, and you didn't stop until a specific age. I think it was 25, I believe. You didn't stop until that point, and when you stopped, you started to have the problems. And I said, well, yes, like it did, but I don't know why. Like, so what I said is your heart, your body is actually still wants to work as not as the same amount, but it needs to have the balance. You need to keep dancing in another shape or way or form. Like you have to stay dancing. Is the only way that your heart will cope with stopping. And I did. I came back taking classes, I came back teaching. I haven't got one since. Like, funny how that worked, but it hasn't go back. And with the lockdown, it made it a little bit more difficult at the times, because you kind of start to train like mentally, and I think that happened to every single dancer around the world. They see that there's a lot of classes around, and you say, okay, mentally I need to do this, mentally I'm gonna be happier, or physically I'm gonna be fit. And then as the lockdown started to progress, you started to put less, because you started to get tired of all that. So when I started to get a little bit tired and I started to kind of slow down is when I can feel it again.
Yeah.
So I had to be like, maybe not as active, but active enough. And with arthritis, I had never thought in my life that somebody will tell me that at this age I will have it. I thought it was something that, with apologies to the people who knows best with arthritis, but I didn't know what could strike me on that sense. Like I really didn't know until also last year, just before the lockdown as well, and they told me that, and I couldn't believe it. I said, like, well, it is rheumatoid arthritis. You are a dancer. If you're still dancing, it will help. And so I stayed and said, like, you can go into a remission because it's a very early stage. It might not disappear altogether, but the striking force of remission.
Yeah.
So like, kind of that's the goal. Like, and it's just yesterday, luckily, I got the doctor saying that I'm in remission now.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
it is a grace. It's great because it took me all day to process, like, the entire whole process of the entire whole year, doing everything within my power, in between food, in between meditations, in between everything in within my power to help it. And that was at least something that it kept the balance, because depression is something that comes and goes. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I do have to say that when I was younger, it was way more harder. And as I got older, mentally I'm a little more stronger. But when I was younger, it's a different story, and there is so much going on, and very little that you know about your body itself, that it kind of works against, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah,
Thank
weird.
thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And then again, what I find fascinating is that again, I had another dancer in this podcast that she resourced to dance in the various health programs that she had, and it's the same story as you. And I keep seeing this story repeating, that you had different kinds of health programs, and each time you turned to dance. So dance was kind of like an answer that you had there, and I find that so powerful. And I find very powerful that you said, you were very quiet, and there were things that you couldn't say, and this is where dance becomes and dance therapy become much more important than a normal therapy, because most of the things that we say and communicate, they are not through words. And when we have cases of depression, it's difficult to explain that specific feeling through words. And dance kind of like works as a form to communicate that. And when you said, I was very quiet, and dance was a vessel for my communication, that is so just there, like you can see how powerful it is. And then the fact that you had your heart problem, and then again, dance was a way for you to go through that. And now this amazing news that your arthritis is in remission, and you continue to dance, and continue to use that powerful tool. It's just fascinating. And this is where I think this podcast is important, in the sense that I could talk all about the neuroscience and the science and the studies, but this is real stories, real examples, and how dancers themselves relate to that. So that is so amazing. Is there anything else you like to share, or anything that pops up to your mind? Anything, can be anything.
I think what I would like to share, and if there is young people out there listening, um, I would love, because in my experience working with young generation, I feel that they have so much on and so much pressure, and they feel so misunderstood. And in one way or another, we pen through that as well. We know how it is that as well, and I pen through that as well. And it was heartbreaking when I was younger, every single thing that it had happened, and it was heartbreaking to the point that, and you just want to finish so much everything. And it's my way was using dancing, because it was my way to not shut down everything and just to fight it. And
Mm,
it was good for me, and I think it will be good for a lot of them out there, that if you can say it, dance it. You don't have to be perfect. There is no perfection. There is not such a thing of perfection, but to let it out, And when you are in that room, or whatever that room that you want to use it, to be training or whatever, it's just to really, really let it go. Because it's when you let your body to go through the feelings, it's just, it will help you. It will help you to release. It will help you to understand what is going on and to make peace with it. And that is at least what it has helped me. And the fact that I have my love and hate with dance for so long, and I love it and I hate it, but I love it the most. But I can't let it go, and it's the one that is keeping me healthy,
Yeah.
and healthy mentally, healthy physically. It's the one that is always battling. It's my horse, battling around. Like, it's the one that helped me the most. No physio, no pills, nothing of that has helped me as much as it has been dance. And I think I can give a big, massive thank you to the dance community for it, for the people who are like you, doing this, on the aspect of neuroscience and the healing process, and also for the people who are keep teaching, for the people who shares. I think it is amazing that is happening, because it definitely wasn't so much back then, and now it's good to have that support. And I think that will be amazing that if people just started to be a little bit more open to the fact that dance does help a lot.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. And I usually ask dancers who come to the podcast what advice they would give to someone who's not a dancer. You already did that, which I love it. I think, the two questions I always ask is,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to dancers, to non-dancers, and then to dancers? I think to dancers that have been through what you have been through, and I think you already answered that perfectly. And then again, it's amazing because you say, okay, no pill, nothing has helped me. Dance has been the one that helped me. This, what annoys me most is how underestimated dance is, in terms of
It
medicine.
is. It is.
Because, like, this dance is never prescribed. Like, I mean, okay, we have dance therapy, fair enough. But dance therapy is seen as a complementary, just a little thing that is there on the corner that
Yeah.
sometimes someone remembers about its existence. So I think dance therapy has done great, and dance therapy has been so crucial in starting all of this. But it's still not enough. And this is, I'm grateful for the dancers who agreed to come to the podcast and share their stories, because they're sensitive stories, and I have so much respect for that, because I feel like the more we talk about this, then the more it can be out there, and the more people can have awareness. And there's this other side where science is starting to support all of these. So there's these things that I think the thing that dancers love the most about the Neuroscience of Dance and my workshops and everything, they just want to grab every single study, every single thing I just told them, and just shove it in people's faces. Like, here, and people want to do this. They want to be like, okay, finally, science is believing us that dance is healing, finally. But it's nothing new. So this is nothing new. From the very beginning of humankind, dance has been used as healing. And then around the medieval ages, it started seen as a skill, as a talent that you have to have, something to be showcased on the stage. And we kind of lost that healing power of dance. And this is where I'm trying to bring is I see so many dancers like you, and I have my own story too in dealing and in using dance to heal. So, and I see dancers who are like me all over the world, and I'm like, we need to build this community and start gathering all those stories. And for whoever is listening, whether they are non-dancers or dancers or people suffering from health problems or just someone who's curious or a health practitioner, they can start grasping those things. And a lot of the times I have health practitioners in my workshops, and they start, they come to these things because they want to know, hold on, what is out there, what is, what's the impact of movement. Let's start giving value to this. And a lot of times I have people that they are just doctors, or they care for people with Parkinson's and all kinds of arthritis as well, and they come to my workshops because, just tell me, I want to know how, what other things we can do that is not the regular things that are given to people. There's not a study or a single thing that have been studying on the neuroscience of dance that says dance is bad for you. There's nothing that I've seen, apart from obviously unhealthy dance class environments and dancers overworking themselves and all of those things. Those are negative, but not in the general sense. And perhaps we have studies proving that dance is not more beneficial than sports, but then we have a million other studies saying, yes, dance is more beneficial than sports. So, but there's nothing that says it's bad for you. Like, don't dance because something bad's going to happen to
you.
So,
When I was a little younger, teenager, I was going through for such a dark period. And I remember the first thing that automatically has been done is to take me to a regular therapist. And I didn't feel like being in a regular therapist because, like I said there at the beginning, I didn't want to talk. I wanted just to let it out on my way, but not to sit down and talk because it wasn't my thing. And sure after I met my now my best friend, and we started to work in this theater dance company, and it got me so high, like so happy, because I was going to work with the theater, with the dancers, with the transgender community, every single community that we have worked with. It was absolutely amazing, and we were so active between the spotlight, the lights, the dancing, the training. The training was insane, and that just got me really happy, like really active. That was the only thing that it got me active. So I could be working all day long teaching and I didn't have a problem, but I was working in a regular daytime job and I was absolutely wrecked and tired. But to me, it really did work, and I think it is underestimated how much it can do, and it is underestimated because I think people think, oh, they're just dancing, but they have no idea how much control you have to have of your body, or how much you are allowing yourself to give away. And like, I think it is underestimated a lot, and still, and it is opening, but it's not as faster as it love to be seen. But I think yes, dance. It should be something that it should be from schools, like from regular schools, just to show there are ways to cope with something, and there are ways to cope with your body. In like, if your body can afford because of pain, a different pain, there is I don't know where, I don't remember where I saw it. It was like a dancing but on water because of the gravity, but it's still dancing, so you feel like a fairy, like, basically. But I think it is a great thing to do and to have and to be able to teach or to communicate, because it's a form of communication. And when words can say, the body says. And when the body feel pain, releasing your body, like if your body is super with knots absolutely everywhere and it is just contraction all the time, when you're dancing, you have to release all that tension.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And it helps a lot. So yeah, I think of this podcast, like the neuroscience, like you have done this is amazing. I really, really like it. I have been following since the lockdown. I don't know how I found you, but I remember they found you, and I was like, I really like this. Like it's the first time, and I've been here for a while, like, and I haven't seen it. So it is great to have this, and like I said, for the younger generation of dancer and for the no dancers as well, that if they are afraid, try it. I'm not gonna lose anything. Just try it, and you will feel better.
Also, that's awesome because like every dancer seems to always say the same. Just try it, and that's a good advice that you know. And this is I created the neuroscience of dance because I saw all that knowledge while I was doing my studies on the books and on the research papers and all of that, and I was like, why is this not out there? And I feel like it's important to, and also for the skepticals out there like me, I'm one of those people like, if this is not scientifically proved, I don't care. So when it comes to like meditation and mindfulness and yoga and all those like mind power things and and the law of attraction, I'm always like, yeah, whatever, until science came into the play, and I was like, now I believe in this. So it was my way also to show people, what, this is proven. Maybe it's not as proven as much as we would like, because dance is very difficult to study, but everything points to the same direction. So and it's really important. And then again, I would love dance to be in schools, as you said, because we have sports. I don't know what's the case in different countries, but in Portugal you have, like, where I'm from, you've got like sports as part of your curriculum in school, but not dance. Why is
Yeah,
that? Because dance is so much more important, not only because, as you said, I think learning how to dance and communicate with your body is as important as learning words and communicate verbally. So not only because of that communication aspect, but also the integrate dance helps build communities and strengthen communities. So how much of a community we could create in schools, where bullying and children being mean to each other is a big problem, and
yes,
people and kids coming to the school and they have so much problems at home, and there's the troubled kids end up being disregarded and all of these things. Like, dance could solve all of that in such a beautiful way, and not even to mention what it does to your brain when it's developing. Like, not even starting there. Not even going to, like, oh yeah, motor coordination, spatial awareness, posture, and not even starting in that. It's just like, so yeah, I totally agree with everything that you said, and I think it's a great message that you passed there, and this is what I want to take away from the dancers too, is every single person will have their own message and their own say about dance and their own advice, and hopefully, as people listen to the podcasts, if they're regular listeners, they will, something will spark in them to embrace dance if they're not already doing it. And also, this hopefully reminds teachers and dancers that we are healers. First and
yeah,
foremost, we are not just, so we need to be mindful when we are teaching classes and dealing with other dancers in our dance community. Dance is not a space or a time or to be mean, to be unkind, because we are all in the process of healing something through dance. So it's important to create good environments, and hopefully by listening to each other's stories, like, I straight away connect with the dancers that come to the podcasts, and I remember their stories, and I just feel their stories, and really I feel like I know these people, and I create some kind of a connection, because there's a story there, there's a person who lived through something, and they survived it, and I think it's just beautiful. So
yeah. I
it's
think
me, Yeah, it's been, these podcasts have been like kind of like therapeutic for me too, like kind of healing for me as well. Um, and hope, and for the dancers too, because that's being able to say your story is also healing. So it's been like a two-way process where I'm also gaining so much from doing this.
I think you never know like how much, like when you started on the process, on the journey of dancing, or either whether if you want to become just a dancer or a teacher or a professional, or just for the fun of it, you always gonna carry a story.
Mm-hmm.
You always gonna encounter something new, or something that happens, or something, a challenge that it have make you overcome something. In my experience, I have 31 years already, or 32 years dancing, and I have seen so much. Unfortunately, I haven't seen schools taking dance as something, as if there is soccer or football, depending how they want to call it. But if there is, it should be like, I have seen very little about it, and you can tell that the, as you said, like there is a lot of bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought bullying when I was younger, that is something that you went through that in your life, and then you're not going to see it ever again because it is in the past. It is something that you're never going to see it. And then you see that it's just in every single child or person, or work or something. Say, okay, this is not definitely something that I went through only myself in the school. Let's just keep going. And it is so sad to see that,
Mm-hmm.
because if you put everybody, the same people that is bullying everybody, and they don't know anything about dancing, but you put them to make a piece or something,
Mm-hmm.
the challenge that they have to make, that they have to overcome themselves to create a piece, it
Mm-hmm.
will make some sort, to myself, to my eyes, it will make like some sort of peace with the fact, okay, I don't know it, I don't know how to do it, but I have to rely on you. That I
Mm-hmm.
don't like you, but I have to do it. And somehow you create, maybe not a bomb, but you create something like, we have to work together,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually we'll make a little bit of peace with it.
Yeah.
I have seen it I have seen it only once, and this was back in Argentina, and it was the most heartbreaking but also the most beautiful situation that I had to be put on. I was given a shop. I was just like, I was the how you call it, when it's just, my best friend wasn't able to go to teach on that particular month, so they said, can you please take over for this month? I didn't know anything about the place. I didn't know for who it was or for what it was. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that I have to cover her shift. So I went over, and they were all nuns, and they sat me down, and they said, are you ready for this? Because your commitment needs to be really, really strong for this place.
Mm.
And I didn't understand why it was that until they showed me the place, and it was a lot going on, from kids from completely different backgrounds, from the kids that wouldn't go back home, or kids that running away from home, like everything dark and bad they could ever think of, it was happening on this place, and they were trying to help the kids. So they brought the dance classes for them to lift them up.
Mm.
By the month was finished, I remember, like, it was a process. The first time was a little bit difficult. It was really hard because it was so many emotions they were having, and mostly was anger. So I had to work through the anger. But by the end of the month, they were just crying. But
Oh.
they were also like, they make like a small showcase when they were all coming together to create a piece and to dance. And it was amazing to see that, because I knew them only for that month. and they didn't like each other that much because they didn't know each other, but because everybody was on the same boat learning something new. And it was amazing to see how they bonded after. So I know that that can help. I saw it by firsthand. I only saw it this place. I didn't saw it anywhere else. But I'm honestly thinking that if they bring something similar to the schools, a little bit of this will kind of slow down a little bit. I don't say and disappear. It's a very difficult tackle thing, and depression and bullying, the two of them together with a child that is trying to figure it out, and even with an adult when they're trying to still figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like just try it. Like just literally just try it, because you never know until you try, and you might end up really liking, or might like myself, or if I don't do it, I just get sicker. And how that can, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like for a lot of people, it's like you should be able to take a pill and being okay, but in my case it doesn't work that way. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's that thing, like, try it. If it doesn't work, it's not going to do anything bad either.
Yeah.
And also, I think so. I'm going to just give my perspective on what you say, that they bound or they connect. Yes, they do, even unconsciously, because when there's been a couple of studies of group dancing and partner dancing, and what happens, in the brain, and what happens is basically there's a need for empathy to be present when we are dancing with the other person, because we need to put ourselves in the other person's shoes,
Yes.
and kind of, because what happens in dance is that when we are dancing with a partner or a group, we need to predict other people's actions, and to predict other people's actions we need to be in their shoes, right? And we need to kind of act like them for a little bit, because we need to understand what do they do and why, and what's the next move, in order to really dance with them. Because you dancing with somebody, you depending on them, you depending on what they're going to do next, your response depends on what they're going to do next, and there's this constant interaction where you are on the other person's shoes, and now you have to predict what's going to happen, and you have to do it, and vice versa. And that creates there's a really good study. Then again, there's so many studies, I don't remember the name, but I'll try and remember it later and maybe put it on the description, where they supported that in order for dancers to dance together, it needs to go through the process of empathy. And all these mirror neurons are involved. So the mirror neurons are neurons that activate when they see action, as if they were doing it. So when you see someone moving, even if you are static, the same neurons required to do that movement will activate. And this plays a role in predicting action, in understanding other people, and empathy. And those neurons have to be activated when dancing with a partner. So there's a lot of these processes happening in the brain that will, even if you want it or not, connect it to the other person. And then there's this thing where you like, consciously, you like, I don't like this person, but unconsciously there's a lot of things happening that are bounding you to that person. And because the brain dislikes inconsistency so much, it will have to pick one. And usually we'll pick the one that feels better. You don't, none of us feels good hating on somebody. So you'll have to pick the one that one is more consistent, which is, okay, you consciously dislike somebody, but unconsciously there's this process happening contradicting that. And if that process happens often enough, your brain will pick the one that happens often enough. So then again, it really happens, the connection really happens on a neurological level too. So and then let's not even talk about how the breathing and heartbeat synchronized in group dancers. And so when you're dancing in a group, your heartbeat and breathing synchronize. And when you are dancing to an audience, the audience will synchronize with you as well. So that's like another. So even at a physiological level, you are bonding with those people. And this is what makes it very, very, very healing as well for connections with others and relationship with others. So it's healing for the physical, the mental, but also the external, the extension of us, which is our connections with others. This was amazing. I don't know, do you want to say anything else?
No, I think we covered absolutely everything, I believe.
Awesome. So thank you so much I'm so grateful when dancers share the story. So I'm so grateful to you. You have an amazing story, and I'm always so inspired by each story. And yeah, I always leave the podcast feeling really inspired. So thank you so much for your bravery in speaking up and passing this important message. And I will see everyone in the next podcast. Thank you so much.